right now, the tech world feels less like a marketplace and more like
Yeah.
a launch pad,
Hmm.
honestly.
Yeah, it really does. Constant launches.
Every single day, there's a new AI demo hitting our feeds that, yeah, I mean, it truly dazzles us,
Oh, absolutely. Some of it is mind-blowing.
promising these revolutionary shifts in how we work, how we live, delivering productivity gains that just, I don't know, a year or two ago seemed like pure science fiction.
Totally. The pace is incredible.
It's frantic, it's exciting. The sources call it a mad dash, a gold rush. Companies built like rocket ships,
Hmm.
prioritizing speed above almost everything else.
Get to market fast.
But when you look past the impressive demos, the bold promises, amidst all this blinding innovation, it really begs a fundamental question, doesn't it?
Okay.
Are these companies rocketing upwards so fast actually built on solid ground? Are they like designed to last, to be reliable partners for you, the user, over the long haul?
And that question, it gets right to the heart of the issue highlighted in this stack of sources we've assembled for this deep dive. They really paint a pretty consistent picture.
Okay, what kind of picture?
Well, a picture of a significant and, frankly, a concerning gap.
A gap.
Yeah. On one side, you have the incredible outward flash of AI capabilities, the models generating text, images, code, the slick interfaces, the things that make headlines.
Wow stuff.
Exactly. But the sources reveal there's this stark reality lurking underneath that dazzling surface, particularly concerning the fundamental customer experience and the business infrastructure supporting it.
Oh, the boring stuff.
Well, maybe boring, but essential. The strong hint from these sources is that while the AI itself might be incredibly smart, the underlying business practices, the essential operational plumbing that makes a company reliable, often isn't anywhere near as sophisticated. Sometimes it's barely functional.
Okay, right. So let's unpack this together then. We've been given this collection of articles, insightful essays, even a white paper, and they're all pointing to a classic tech startup pitfall, wouldn't you say?
Definitely. But it feels magnified, accelerated in this AI era.
Yeah. So our mission in this deep dive is to really explore these sources, to understand exactly why this gap between the AI brilliance and the operational basics is happening, what the very real world consequences are for you, the customer, interacting with these services every day, and perhaps most importantly, what kind of foundational work actually builds the trust and longevity needed in this incredibly fast-moving competitive space.
And as we go through the material, we'll be looking closely at what the sources identify as key areas of neglect. Things like fundamental infrastructure failures, a serious lack of attention paid to understanding customer needs beyond just the core AI interaction,
Right.
and a general disregard for the overall customer experience. We'll also explore some genuinely surprising insights the sources offer about why this might be occurring at such a systemic level across so many AI startups.
Surprising insights. Like what?
Well, including some really thought-provoking perspective on leadership experience and how that might play a role in these blind spots.
Interesting. Okay, let's dive right in then. The sources describe the current AI startup landscape using those vivid phrases we mentioned. A mad dash, a gold rush.
Yeah.
They say companies are being built with an almost singular focus on launch speed and user acquisition, structured like rocket ships. So, according to these sources, what exactly are these companies prioritizing? Where are they pouring their precious time, energy, and, let's face it, significant venture capital resources right now? What's getting all the intense love and attention in this race?
Well, the sources are quite specific, and it probably won't surprise you, honestly.
Yeah.
Resources are being funneled intensely into the outward-facing, the flashy, the technically impressive parts of the business, the parts that get noticed and generate buzz.
Makes sense.
They describe massive investment in building and refining product demos that dazzle, the kind you see lighting up social media, promising instant transformations.
Yeah, the viral loops.
Exactly. The sources specifically call out examples related to generative AI capabilities, things like demonstrating, say, OpenAI plugins or custom GPTs, features that showcase the cutting-edge nature of the AI itself.
Right, the stuff that makes you immediately go, wow, look at what this technology can do. It really captures your imagination.
Precisely. And alongside those dazzling demos, they're also investing heavily in crafting and deploying these massive marketing campaigns promising revolutionary productivity gains.
Ah, the hype machine.
Totally. This is the narrative that sells the future, right?
Right.
The idea that integrating this specific AI tool into your workflow will somehow make you exponentially faster, more efficient, fundamentally better at your job or creative process. It's selling the dream of the transformed user powered by AI. And of course, a huge amount of technical talent is focused on the interaction layer itself. Prompt engineering teams refining user-facing LLM interactions, making the AI appear as smart, helpful, and intuitive as possible in that direct back and forth with you. It's about perfecting the magic part.
So the focus is laser sharp on perfecting the core AI, making the surface interface look incredible, and then shouting about it from the rooftops with big, exciting promises.
You got it.
It's all geared towards that immediate impact, getting users to sign up, to experience that initial wow factor, driven by that intense desire for first mover advantage the sources mentioned.
Completely.
Getting users in the door, signing up, ideally going viral quick before the next competitor launches their rocket ship.
That's exactly the dynamic the sources identify. That drive to claim first mover advantage and demonstrate rapid user growth is a major force shaping where resources are allocated. It creates this culture where speed to market and initial user numbers are absolutely paramount.
Sometimes to the exclusion of other crucial elements.
That's what the sources argue, yes, sometimes to the exclusion of really vital things.
Okay, so that's what's getting built at lightning speed and immense cost. But now for the critical contrast, the sources highlight. What do they say is being neglected, deprioritized, or even outright ignored, while all this energy and investment is focused on the flashy front end, the core AI models, and the marketing hype?
This is where the sources get really critical and where the breach of trust, as they put it, begins.
Breach of trust, okay.
Yeah. While the rocket ship is being built and fueled for that rapid ascent, the fundamental, what the sources call foundational systems, are being largely ignored or severely underdeveloped.
Foundational systems like?
Like the really unglamorous parts of building a business. The sources explicitly list these neglected areas. CRM, customer relationship management, right? Support operations, and payment processing.
Okay, yeah, not sexy.
Definitely not sexy. These aren't the features you put in a demo video, but they are, as the sources state with real emphasis, absolutely crucial for building long-term trust and retention with your customers.
CRM, support, payments.
Yeah, that sounds like the fundamental basic plumbing of literally any business, whether it's selling revolutionary AI or selling, I don't know, widgets.
Exactly. It's how you manage customer relationships, help them when things inevitably go wrong, and handle their money reliably.
Basic business 101.
Pretty much. And the sources make a very powerful point about this neglect. They elevate it beyond just a simple oversight, something they'll fix later.
How so?
They state clearly that neglecting these foundational systems isn't just a minor detail. It is, in their words, a breach of trust.
It's presenting this dazzling, technically brilliant facade powered by AI, but failing to build the core machinery needed to actually serve a customer reliably, transparently, and competently throughout their entire journey with your product.
So it's like building a beautiful house with no plumbing or electricity.
Kind of, yeah. It's selling a futuristic vision, but failing at basic business hygiene. Selling the dream, but forgetting the reality of running a service people depend on.
A breach of trust. That language feels strong, but based on what the sources describe next, I can absolutely see why they use it. Let's transition into what this neglect actually looks like from the customer's perspective, from your perspective, the listener.
Okay.
You might be using or considering these services. This is where the foundation starts to crack, right? Section 2 in our thinking. When the foundation cracks, the customer experience breakdown. So you've been wowed by an incredible demo. You've signed up for a revolutionary AI service, hoping for those promised productivity gains. What happens when the neglected foundation starts to show those cracks? What are the basic expectations you still have, even when interacting with cutting-edge AI?
Well, the sources are very clear on this, and it's a point they return to repeatedly. Despite the revolutionary nature of the AI itself, customers haven't suddenly shed their fundamental expectations of a reliable business interaction.
Right, you still expect certain things.
Absolutely. You still expect things like clear billing, just understanding what you're being charged for and when. Seems simple, right?
You'd think so.
You expect timely refunds if you decide to cancel, or if there's a billing error, or maybe the service just doesn't meet your needs. You expect accessible and helpful support, whether it's real human or well-trained AI support when something goes wrong or you just have questions. And you still need intuitive dashboards and product interfaces that actually allow you to manage your account, your subscriptions, your settings easily. It has to go beyond just the initial impressive prompt interaction.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I mean, no matter how groundbreaking the AI is, if I can't figure out how I'm being charged, or if my credit card gets double billed, or if the account management interface is a confusing mess,
Yeah.
or if I just cannot get help when I'm stank. The sheer intelligence of the AI suddenly becomes secondary to the sheer frustration I'm experiencing with the company itself.
Exactly. And this is precisely where the gap between that revolutionary promise and the operational reality becomes incredibly stark. And it's where trust, as the sources emphasize again and again, erodes very, very rapidly. The sources provide concrete, often infuriating examples of how these fundamental systems fail in the real world of AI services. They use these to illustrate that breach of trust they talked about earlier.
Okay, tell me about those examples. What are the real-world scenarios the sources describe that really drive this point home? Because specifics really help here.
Oh, they do. One vivid example the sources detail involves a credit card billing incident that sounds, well, almost unbelievable. A user paid a small initial fee to test an AI service that had caught their eye with its capabilities.
Okay, standard trial or low-cost entry.
Right. They tried it out, were ultimately unimpressed with the actual utility for their needs, which happens, and followed what they believed was the correct process to cancel their account.
Seems straightforward enough.
Should be.
Huh.
Well, according to the source, what happened next was anything but straightforward. A week later, after canceling, they started seeing attempts to bill their credit card from some heretofore unknown entity.
An unknown entity, not the service name.
Apparently not immediately recognizable, no, and it wasn't a small amount or a single attempt. This entity, which was legitimately related to the original AI service, just poorly labeled, attempted to bill their credit card. Get this, $300 on 3 separate occasions.
Wait, $300. 3 times after they had canceled.
Yep, after cancellation.
And from a name on the statement they didn't even initially recognize. That's alarming. It's not just an inconvenience. It feels deceptive and, frankly, a bit scary.
Precisely. The sources use this example to emphasize the profound confusion and sheer frustration this causes. It's not a failure of the AI model itself, right?
No, not at all.
It's a fundamental catastrophic breakdown in the basic billing and cancellation system, made even worse by a lack of clear communication about who the billing entity actually is. Imagine the stress.
Oh, I can.
Seeing those unexpected charges, having to hunt down who they're from, prove you canceled, fight to get potentially $900 reversed, all because the basic operational backend is broken and opaque. That experience completely overshadows any positive feeling you might have had about the AI itself.
Absolutely destroys any goodwill. Yeah. And the sources mentioned another example that isn't about billing, but about product functionality that just doesn't deliver on the promise.
Right. Yes. They describe a user signing up for a very popular text-to-speech AI app, a service designed to generate natural-sounding narration from text. Big market for that. The app was marketed with a wide range of voice selections, promising versatility for different projects. However, upon signing up and actually trying to use these advertised features, the user discovered that approximately 15% of those advertised voice selections led to dead links or were simply unavailable options within the application.
So a core advertised feature of the product, a significant chunk of what they were selling just didn't work, was broken.
Exactly. The sources explain how this failure, which again isn't a failure of the AI's speech generation quality perhaps, but a failure of the operational delivery of promised features,
Right.
directly and immediately undermines the product's perceived quality and reliability. Even if the voices that did work were excellent, the fact that a substantial portion of the advertised options were inaccessible makes the entire service feel unfinished, unreliable, maybe even misleading.
It's like going to a restaurant with a beautiful menu and finding out 15% of the dishes simply can't be ordered tonight, and maybe never.
That's a great analogy. It makes you question the entire operation, doesn't it?
It really does. And the sources don't stop there. They list a whole litany of other basic operational breakdowns they observed or found evidence of. It sounds pretty widespread.
They do. The examples pile up, painting a picture of systemic issues, broken refund systems where getting your money back is this confusing multi-step ordeal, if it's even possible at all.
Nightmare.
Botched support chats that just go nowhere or provide completely unhelpful canned responses that don't address your actual problem.
Infuriating.
Getting trapped in automated support loops with no clear way to escalate to a human being, leaving you utterly stuck and just screaming into the void, basically.
We've all been there.
Right. Dead links on websites or pages that are clearly unfinished websites, signaling a lack of polish and attention to detail beyond the core product itself. Ghosted support tickets, you submit something into a void, and it's just Crickets, never hear back.
Hmm.
And just inconsistent billing in general, unexpected charges, incorrect amounts, difficulty changing payment methods. These are the everyday frustrating operational failures that customers actually encounter after the initial wow has worn off, or often because something went wrong and they needed help.
So, putting on our listener hat again, why should you care about these seemingly boring non-AI operational details? Why do these billing errors, broken links, and support nightmares matter so much in the age of revolutionary AI that can write poems or generate photorealistic images?
The sources provide the crucial practical answer, and it's really simple. They explain that while the AI capabilities might initially wow you, might impress you with their technical prowess or creative output,
Mm.
the experience of being unable to get a refund you're owed, facing repeated and confusing billing errors, or having absolutely no real support when you desperately need help, that frustrates you equally, if not more, than if the AI itself wasn't quite as good.
That makes sense. Pain avoidance.
Exactly. That initial technological magic quickly fades when you're dealing with real-world problems that the company is just ill-equipped to handle. It shifts your perception from being impressed by the technology to being deeply annoyed, distrustful, and ultimately unwilling to continue using the service. You churn.
It turns the technological wow into an operational ugh. And that you feeling is what sticks with you, isn't it?
It really is. The sources are emphatic that these operational failures aren't just minor glitches they'll fix later. They are indicators of a systemic failure.
Systemic. Okay.
Yeah. They reveal a deeper problem with how the company is built and what it fundamentally prioritizes. The sources point out that while neglecting robust CRM systems, polished UX beyond the core AI interaction, and reliable support infrastructure might allow companies to scale rapidly in that initial user acquisition phase, chasing those big growth numbers.
Mhm.
They often hit a ceiling and churn becomes a silent killer. Users don't necessarily announce they're leaving because support was bad or billing was confusing. They just stop using the service. They don't resubscribe. And the company bleeds users, sometimes without fully understanding why.
A silent killer. That's potent.
It is. And the sources deliver a stark and important warning here. Trust deteriorates faster than it can be rebuilt. It's incredibly difficult and expensive, maybe even impossible, to win a customer back once they've been burned by a fundamental operational failure, like a billing nightmare or being completely abandoned by support when they needed help.
Trust deteriorates faster than it can be rebuilt. That's a powerful and perhaps sobering point for companies built primarily on speed and hype. It makes these operational basics sound less like optional, boring details you get around to later,
Right.
and more like the essential, non-negotiable foundation for any sustainable business, whether it uses AI or not.
Absolutely. It fundamentally reframes these operational elements from being secondary concerns to being absolutely central to a company's long-term viability and its ability to retain the customers it worked so hard to acquire in the first place.
This focus on the why brings us naturally to explore what the sources delved into next, because they don't just complain about the problems, they really try to understand why so many AI startups seem to be falling into this exact same trap, neglecting the operational basics while chasing the AI flash. This would be like section 3 in our outline, digging deeper into the causes.
Mm-hmm.
What did the sources identify as the primary cultural driver behind this trend, this focus on the AI product over the customer's led experience?
The sources pinpoint what they call an engineering-driven culture as a major factor.
Okay, what does that mean exactly?
It refers to startups where the technical teams, the engineers, the researchers focused on building the AI models, and the core features are heavily dominant in setting priorities and directing resources.
So the techies are in charge.
Essentially, yeah. In this culture, the focus naturally defaults to shipping new tools, improving the models, prioritizing technical achievement. Often, as the sources put it, over-understanding and addressing the customer's lived experience. The success metrics become technical performance, new features rolled out, model accuracy, that kind of thing.
So it's the culture that inherently fosters a product-first mentality, sometimes to the point of almost forgetting there's a human being on the other side who needs to use that product, manage their account, and potentially get help when things go wrong.
Precisely. The sources describe it as a natural inclination for technically brilliant teams to focus on building the coolest or most advanced thing, rather than the often messy, complicated, and sometimes frustrating human process of someone actually interacting with, integrating, and potentially needing support with that cool thing in the real world.
Right. The engineers build this amazing engine,
Yeah.
but maybe no one is prioritizing designing, the driver's seat, the dashboard, or the roadside assistance plan that makes the whole car usable and reliable.
That's a perfect analogy. That's exactly the kind of dynamic they're describing.
Okay, so the internal culture and who sets the priorities, the engineering dominance, that's a big piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
What about external pressures or other internal blind spots that the sources mention as contributing factors?
External pressure, particularly from investors, is definitely called out as a major influence. The sources discuss investor pressure, explaining how venture capital firms, especially in a hot market like AI,
And it doesn't get much hotter than AI right now.
exactly. They often push founding teams relentlessly to prioritize growth metrics. They specifically mention metrics like DAUs, daily active users, or model API calls, numbers that demonstrate rapid adoption and usage of the core technology or model, quick, visible growth.
The kind of numbers that look fantastic on a pitch deck for the next funding round,
Yeah.
right? Showing exponential user growth and engagement. Got to feed the beast.
That's the currency for raising more capital in this environment, absolutely. And the sources state explicitly that metrics tied to the actual operational health of the business, and more importantly, customer well-being and retention things like customer satisfaction, retention rates, or resubscriptions, those things take a back seat in these early hyper-growth focused stages.
So the focus is get them in, show the numbers, worry about keeping them later.
That often seems to be the implicit strategy, yeah.
Uh-huh.
The pressure is on getting users in the door and showing usage, not necessarily making them happy enough to stay for years, at least not initially. The hope, often unspoken, is that they'll fix the operational issues later, after they've achieved scale. But as we've discussed, trust erodes fast, and later might be too late.
And what about simply underestimating how difficult the non-AI stuff actually is? Is that a factor too? Maybe they just think it's easy?
Yes, the sources highlight underestimating ops complexity as another key factor, particularly for teams focused purely on the technical challenges of AI.
Okay.
They make a very insightful and relatable point here, calling areas like payments, regulatory compliance, and customer support systems non-trivial and boring until they're broken.
Huh. Yeah, that sounds about right.
The implication is that teams deep in the exciting world of cutting-edge AI might view these operational areas as simple administrative tasks, things you just set up or plug in, that don't require significant expertise, design thinking, or ongoing attention. They just don't appreciate the hidden complexities.
Like what kind of complexities?
Things like managing edge cases and billing across different regions, handling fraud attempts effectively, navigating different payment methods and chargeback rules, building robust support workflows that can actually scale, complying with ever-changing consumer protection laws and data privacy regulations. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
This complexity is often severely underestimated by teams whose primary focus, and let's be honest, passion, is solely on the exciting new technology itself.
They see it as just basic plumbing, not realizing how incredibly intricate and prone to leaks that plumbing can be if it's not designed and maintained correctly from the start.
Right. They build a Formula One car engine, but neglect to install reliable brakes or a steering system, assuming those parts are simple and will just work themselves out. It's a dangerous assumption.
And the sources tie all of these factors together, the engineering-driven culture, the investor pressure, underestimating complexity by describing the inevitable consequence for the customer.
Right. Yes. They describe the user journey becoming frustratingly fragmented. They paint this picture where the interface is beautiful and the AI is powerful. The parts the company prioritized and invested heavily in are indeed impressive. Unfortunately, they add, the experience is undermined by broken refund systems, dead links, unresponsive support, and inconsistent billing. All the stuff we talked about earlier.
It's a completely disjointed experience.
Yeah.
Like, the front stage performance is mesmerizing, the lights are amazing, the star is brilliant.
Yeah.
But the backstage operation is a chaotic mess, the sound system keeps cutting out, and the audience eventually sees it and is definitely impacted by it.
That's a perfect way to put it. And the sources make the critical point that these operational failures are precisely the kind of problems that won't appear on a TikTok demo reel or PowerPoint pitch deck because they are hidden from view.
Until it's too late for the customer.
Exactly, until you, the customer, actually encounter a problem. But they are what truly erode trust rapidly and often permanently.
This whole discussion about why the basics are missed leads us perfectly into exploring a particularly insightful point raised in the sources, the role of leadership experience, or sometimes the lack thereof.
Ah, yes. This was fascinating.
Yeah, this section of the sources, like section 4 in our outline, focuses on what they call the experience gap leadership, naivete, and the value of seasoned perspective. The sources specifically mention the inexperience of many young founding teams in the AI space.
Hmm.
What do they say is a direct consequence of this inexperience, particularly regarding something fundamental like, say, customer support strategy?
The sources offer a pretty direct and, frankly, pointed critique here. They suggest that a significant consequence of this inexperience in running a full-fledged customer-facing business is that these young teams often default to, well, they follow a Google, Facebook, or YouTube mentality about deploying vague and often unhelpful FAQs as their primary support strategy.
Meaning they just throw up a knowledge base and hope for the best.
Pretty much. They look at how massive tech giants handle support, often pushing users towards extensive self-serve documentation, and they try to replicate that model without having the necessary scale, resources, or decades of accumulated user data and support expertise to make it actually effective for a smaller, newer company.
Right. And the sources really don't hold back with their critique on this point. They have a direct quote that is quite memorable, isn't it? It cuts right to the chase.
They do. It's a line that definitely sticks with you. Folks, I know Google, Facebook, and YouTube. You are not Google, Facebook, or YouTube.
Ouch. But fair.
Well, the source argues it's fair. It isn't just a witty remark. It's a fundamental observation about a critical lack of perspective. It highlights the naivete, perhaps, of a small startup thinking they can just copy-paste the complex, layered support structure that a tech giant with hundreds of millions or billions of users and massive dedicated teams has built over decades.
Because those giants have the data and resources.
Exactly. Those companies have the sheer volume of user interactions to populate truly comprehensive FAQs, and the resources to build sophisticated internal tools, AI-powered routing, and complex escalation paths. A small startup, by definition, doesn't have that luxury or that scale of data. Copying their model without understanding the underlying infrastructure and resources required makes your support effectively non-existent for many users who fall outside the common issues.
So it's not just about copying the surface appearance of a support system, like having an FAQ page, but fundamentally misunderstanding the immense resources, scale, and complexity needed to make that self-serve model work reliably for the customer, especially when they have a unique or difficult problem.
Precisely. And the sources expand on this point, stating that these inexperienced teams often do not fully appreciate the operational complexity of running a customer-facing business because they simply haven't had the real-world experience of dealing with the messy, painful fallout from operational failures at scale.
They haven't felt the pain themselves.
Maybe not directly in a leadership role, no. They haven't, as the source puts it, weathered what a broken refund system can do to a brand, for instance. They haven't been in the leadership hot seat when hundreds or thousands of angry customers are demanding their money back and flooding social media with complaints.
Right, dealing with chargebacks, regulatory heat.
Exactly. They haven't personally dealt with the chargebacks, the potential regulatory inquiries, the sheer reputational damage that results from these basic systems failing repeatedly. That kind of deep-seated understanding, that inherent foresight about where things can go wrong in operational workflows, it often comes from having been in the trenches, having managed or built these systems before, and having navigated the consequences when they inevitably break.
And that kind of experience, that operational wisdom, can take time to acquire, maybe across different roles or industries.
That's what the sources strongly suggest. It sounds like a kind of practical foresight, maybe even scar tissue, built through experiencing problems firsthand or seeing them up close.
And the sources offer a contrasting perspective here, suggesting that certain generations might have more of this kind of built-in operational wisdom, perhaps.
They do. The sources make an explicit point here, stating that baby boomers and Gen Xers have seen this business cycle before.
Okay. How does that help?
Well, the idea is they've lived through previous tech booms and busts, seen companies rise and fall spectacularly, and navigated different waves of technological change before AI became the main thing.
So what does that longitudinal experience provide that might be missing in newer teams, according to the sources?
That kind of historical perspective, having navigated multiple business cycles and seen different company models mature and sometimes fail, gives them a different kind of wisdom about what actually makes a business sustainable, the sources argue.
Sustainable beyond just the initial hype phase.
Exactly. The sources explain that these generations often have a deep, perhaps intuitive understanding of the traditional business principles that AI startups, in their understandable rush for innovation, are sometimes overlooking or deprioritizing. Like what principles specifically?
Like understanding, perhaps fundamentally, that trust is earned through consistency. It's not about one amazing AI demo. It's about reliable performance and interaction over time, every single time.
Right, dependability.
And they understand that the customer's experience, every step of it matters. From the moment they sign up to trying to figure out billing, to getting help when they're stuck, to maybe canceling their subscription easily, every touch point. This isn't a revolutionary concept to them. The sources refer to this foundational understanding as the pursuit of customer service perfection.
Customer service perfection.
Yeah, a goal that has been absolutely central to building successful, enduring businesses for decades across many, many industries, long before AI.
So while the AI technology itself is definitely revolutionary and demands new technical expertise,
No question. The principles of building a trustworthy, sustainable business haven't really changed. And experienced leaders, regardless of their age, maybe, but often that experience is built over time and across diverse roles, are more likely to have internalized those fundamental principles about reliability and customer stewardship.
that's the strong implication from the sources, yes. They argue that this highlights a crucial need for different kinds of expertise at the leadership table in AI companies. It's not just about the tech visionaries.
What else is needed?
Well, the future success, they suggest, belongs not just to the brilliant engineers and aggressive marketers, as dominant as they are in the current AI boom, but crucially also to those who know how to turn a brilliant idea into a dependable service.
The operational experts.
Exactly. This requires deep operational know-how, an instinct for anticipating what could go wrong in a customer's journey, and a real commitment to building reliable system skills that aren't always the core focus of purely technical or marketing roles. They're different skill sets.
And the sources even go further, proposing a specific kind of solution or identifying a potential opportunity here, suggesting that integrating this experience is really key.
Yes, they discuss the opportunity for an adjunct kind of leadership in tech.
Adjunct leadership.
Yeah, meaning bringing in those with operational know-how and an instinct for customer stewardship to step in and work hand in hand with tech gurus.
So pairing the innovators with the operators.
Essentially, this part of the source is quite insightful because it implies that companies need to actively seek out and value this operational experience, which, as we said, is often built over many years in various roles, and integrate it at a strategic level, not just as an afterthought. Companies that are overly focused on recruiting only young and fast teams, maybe unintentionally prioritizing perceived agility over seasoned wisdom, might be missing out on the vital foresight and practical understanding needed to avoid the exact operational pitfalls that are currently derailing many AI startups and eroding customer trust.
So it's about recognizing that innovation needs to be paired with operational excellence. And those skills often reside in different people, requiring a blend of perspectives at the top to avoid these kinds of blind spots.
That's exactly it, valuing both the amazing AI and the how, delivering it reliably and supporting the customer effectively.
That makes a lot of sense. You need the technical innovators to build the groundbreaking engine, absolutely.
For sure.
But you absolutely need experienced navigators and mechanics on the team who know how to build a sturdy vehicle around it, plan a reliable route, and crucially, fix things when they inevitably break along the journey. It's about balancing that revolutionary drive with grounded operational reality.
A very apt analogy. It's about understanding that the magic of the AI can only be delivered reliably and sustainably if the fundamental business infrastructure supporting it is just as robust and thoughtfully designed. You need both.
Okay, so given all these challenges, the focus on speed over foundation, the detailed examples of customer experience breakdowns, the potential lack of operational foresight and leadership, and those cultural and investor pressures, what do the sources suggest forward-thinking AI startups should be doing?
Right. The solutions.
Yeah, they don't just identify the problems. They provide actionable recommendations for building that crucial operational scaffolding alongside the AI innovation. What's the first, maybe non-negotiable investment they mention?
The sources strongly recommend, almost demand, investing in robust back-end systems early. Not later, early.
Robust back-end systems, like what?
They aren't saying build everything perfectly from day one, but build the essential operational core right alongside the product. They specifically name types of integrations that are now considered, table stakes for any serious online business.
Okay, example.
Reliable payment processors like Stripe, comprehensive customer support platforms like Zendesk, and integrated CRM systems like HubSpot, tools like that.
The standard players.
Yeah, the proven ones. And they emphasize that these aren't optional extras or things you get around to later if you succeed. The sources call them essential, explicitly stating they are not glamorous, but they're essential. This means getting the core systems for handling money reliably, managing customer relationships effectively, and running support efficiently in place and integrated from the very beginning, building them as you build the AI rather than trying to desperately patch them in later when problems are already piling up and costing you customers.
So build the boring, necessary stuff first, or at least at the same time as you're building the exciting, flashy AI stuff. Don't let the plumbing be an afterthought you tack on later.
Exactly. Don't wait until you're drowning in billing disputes, chargebacks, or overwhelming support tickets to build the basic, reliable systems needed to handle them efficiently and correctly. Build the infrastructure that allows you to be dependable from the outset. Plan for success, operationally speaking.
What about truly understanding what the customer actually goes through when using the service, beyond just the cool AI interaction itself? How do companies get a better handle on the real user experience, including all those frustrating parts we talked about?
That's the next key recommendation the sources highlight, to map user journeys with care.
Map the journey. Okay.
And the sources stress that this mapping needs to be comprehensive. It's not just the happy path, it means identifying potential breakpoints. And critically, they note this is not just in the UI, where the interface might be confusing,
Right.
but in the support workflow. You have to think through the entire process, end to end. What happens if a user can't log in? What happens if they get a confusing error message from the AI? What happens if they want to change their subscription level mid-cycle? What happens if they legitimately need a refund? What is the actual step-by-step process for that?
Thinking through all the failure modes and friction points.
Exactly. You need to anticipate where the customer might get stuck or frustrated in the operational parts of the journey: billing, account management, support access, not just the technical AI interaction, and design smooth, reliable processes for those scenarios before they happen at scale.
And regarding support itself, the sources recommend finding a critical balance, which seems particularly relevant now in the AI era, doesn't it?
Yes, very relevant. They strongly advise to automate what makes sense, but don't eliminate the human touch.
Okay, automate but keep humans in the loop.
Basically, yes. While AI is clearly powerful for handling routine queries, providing instant answers from knowledge bases, maybe automating basic tasks in the support queue, the sources are very clear that even sophisticated AI-enhanced support still needs a real escalation path.
And escape hatch.
Exactly. Customers need to know they can easily and reliably reach a human being when the automation fails, when their issue is complex or nuanced, or simply when they are frustrated and need empathy and a real conversation, not just another automated response.
So it's not just about adding an AI chatbot and calling it a day thinking you've solved support. It's about building a multi-layered support system where AI augments human agents, but doesn't try to completely replace the fundamental need for human assistance when required.
Correct. It's about smart implementation of AI within a well-designed, human-centric support architecture. And the sources make a very strong, almost provocative recommendation to emphasize the strategic importance of focusing on the customer experience from day one.
What's that recommendation?
They say, hire ahead of customer experience as early as you hire ahead of AI.
Wow. Okay, that's a statement. Head of CX, right alongside head of AI.
It is. This isn't just a casual suggestion. It highlights the source's conviction that dedicated strategic leadership focused solely on ensuring a positive, reliable customer journey is as fundamentally important to the company's long-term success and longevity as the leadership focused on developing the core artificial intelligence technology itself. Equal footing.
That really puts customer experience and operational reliability right at the strategic center, on equal footing with the AI technology itself, right from the absolute beginning of the company's life. It forces that prioritization from the top down.
It does, and that's a significant shift in mindset for many startups that default to being purely product or technology-led.
Yeah.
And finally, the sources, particularly referencing the white paper they analyzed, present a more formalized framework for thinking about all this, a way to structure it.
Right, the pillars of AI reliability and customer experience. What are those?
Yes, the white paper outlines this framework as essential for building a company that customers can actually trust in the AI age. The first pillar is operational trust infrastructure,
Okay.
which encapsulates much of what we've discussed: building robust CRM systems, ensuring clear and accurate billing and refunds, and implementing effective compliance and fraud handling mechanisms. This is the fundamental, non-negotiable plumbing we talked about.
Got it. Pillar 1, the BIPes.
Exactly. Pillar 2 is customer-centric UX/UI design. And this goes beyond just a slick interface for the AI interaction itself.
How so?
It covers things like frictionless onboarding for new users, prioritizing simplicity over unnecessary complexity or wizardry in the product, and ensuring accessibility for all users, including those with disabilities, making it easy to use for everyone.
Making the whole product easy and clear to use and manage, not just impressive in its core AI capability.
Right. Then pillar 3 is support architecture for scale.
Okay, making support work as you grow.
Yes. This means designing your support system to grow effectively with your user base. This involves implementing tiered human AI support levels, building comprehensive and easily accessible knowledge bases for self-service, and establishing clear SLA-based resolution times service level agreements.
SLA, so committing to response times.
Yeah, basically setting expectations and committing to resolving customer issues within a certain time frame. It demonstrates accountability and reliability to your users. And the fourth pillar is fascinating because it integrates the AI development process directly with the customer experience. Prompt engineering plus human-in-the-loop HITL systems.
Human-in-the-loop systems, where people are involved in reviewing or correcting AI output or handling exceptions.
Exactly. This pillar emphasizes that prompt engineers and product designers shouldn't just focus on the AI's capability, they should be involved in the co-design of the overall user experience. It also explicitly calls for actively designing for edge cases and anticipating potential user frustration within the AI interaction itself.
So thinking about what happens when the AI gets it wrong or confuses the user.
Precisely. It's acknowledging that the AI won't be perfect, especially early on, and planning during the design phase for how the system will handle errors, ambiguity, or user confusion gracefully. And critically, incorporating human oversight or intervention points where necessary to ensure quality and handle complex situations.
So building reliability and anticipating potential failure points or frustrating moments isn't just a separate task for the support team to clean up later. It needs to be embedded in the AI design and development process itself.
Exactly. It means thinking about the customer's potential negative experiences and operational needs from the very beginning and integrating that concern throughout the entire product and operational stack, not just focusing solely on making the core AI technically impressive in isolation.
This all sounds like a significant and frankly very necessary shift in focus compared to that initial rocket ship speed at all costs model we discussed at the start.
It really is a shift towards maturity, maybe.
So what did the sources say the long-term outcome of this current trend, the gap, the focus on Flash, will be for the AI market? Where is this heading?
The sources predict a definite and perhaps soon-to-come shakeout phase.
A shakeout, like the dot-com bust, but for AI.
Potentially, yeah, or at least a significant consolidation. They state clearly that companies that don't get this balance right, that crucial balance between technical innovation and operational reliability, will likely be surpassed by those who take a slower, more grounded path.
Interesting. Slower might win the race in the long run.
That's the argument. The initial speed advantage, the viral demos, the rapid user acquisition, none of that will ultimately matter if customers leave in droves because they can't trust the company to handle their money correctly, resolve their issues effectively, or deliver consistently on basic service expectations day in and day out.
So the companies built on shaky operational foundations will ultimately crumble or get acquired cheaply, even if their underlying AI technology is genuinely brilliant or even leading edge. The customers just won't stick around long enough for the brilliance to matter if the basics are broken.
That is absolutely the core thesis the sources reiterate throughout the material. They conclude, pretty emphatically, that AI's long-term winners won't just be the ones with the best models, but the ones with the strongest operational scaffolding underneath the magic. Dependability, consistency, and trustworthiness, the sources argue, are absolutely key factors for building a sustainable business in this, or, frankly, any market. It's back to basics, in a way.
And the sources even identify a potential opportunity that arises directly from this widespread operational gap, right? For companies or individuals who do understand this stuff, who have that experience.
They do. They pinpoint an underserved but sorely needed niche in the market. An offering built specifically around providing expertise in AI reliability and customer experience operations, helping these startups fix the problems.
Like consultants or specialized service providers.
Exactly. The sources mention the proposed consultancy or service model outlined in the white paper as a concrete example of how this opportunity could be seized, essentially. Offering services to help these AI startups build this missing operational layer, design their customer journeys correctly, and implement those robust back-end systems and support architectures we've been talking about.
So the very problem we've been discussing, the lack of operational maturity in many AI startups is actually creating a significant business opportunity for those who have the experience and knowledge to fix it. It's kind of flipping the problem into a service offering.
Precisely. It highlights the real market value of that operational expertise, that seasoned perspective that is currently being overlooked or undervalued in the mad rush for pure AI innovation.
Hmm.
And the sources emphasize in their final points that while the technology is new and revolutionary,
Mhm.
the principles of building trust are ultimately the traditional way. It requires that fundamental operational discipline and consistent customer stewardship alongside the technological innovation. You need both.
Technology and tradition, hand in hand.
Kind of. They conclude with a powerful summary that ties it all together. Technology can be magical, but trust is built the old school way. It's that blend of the revolutionary AI capabilities and the enduring principles of running a reliable, customer-focused business that will define the winners in the long run.
So what does all of this mean for you, the listener, as you navigate this incredibly dynamic and, let's be honest, often overwhelming world of new AI tools and services? As you explore all these exciting new products flooding the market,
And there's so many.
there really are. It's incredibly easy to be wowed by the sheer power, speed, and capabilities of the technology itself. The demos are designed to impress, and they absolutely succeed at that. But our sources for this deep dive give us a critical and practical reminder. The real magic, the kind that builds sustainable companies you can actually rely on day after day, month after month, requires a solid, dependable, and well-maintained foundation beneath that dazzling surface.
Yeah, the shift we're seeing, or rather the shift that needs to happen for this industry to mature, isn't just about AI models getting exponentially smarter or more capable, as amazing as that is. It's about the businesses building on top of that AI needing to remember and reprioritize the fundamental principles of reliability, transparency, and basic customer care. Principles that have been absolutely essential for building successful, enduring businesses for decades, long before artificial intelligence was a mainstream concept. And the sources particularly highlight that integrating experienced operational leadership potentially from individuals who've literally seen this business cycle before, as they put it, and understand the long-term consequences of operational neglect is a key factor in avoiding these critical pitfalls that younger, more technically focused teams might simply not have the real-world business experience or foresight to anticipate. Experience matters.
So the companies that will truly endure and thrive in this AI revolution won't just be the ones with the flashiest AI capabilities, the most viral marketing campaigns, or the highest user acquisition numbers initially. They'll ultimately be the ones you can consistently rely on when things inevitably go wrong, because things do go wrong.
Always.
The ones who provide clear and accurate billing you don't have to constantly worry about or double-check. The ones you can actually reach for helpful support when you're stuck. The ones who prioritize making the entire experience, not just the AI demo part, reliable, transparent, and dependable.
And this entire discussion really raises an important question for you to consider as you navigate this space, whether you're a user, maybe a builder, or perhaps an investor evaluating these companies. The next time you're evaluating an exciting new AI service or tool, beyond being wowed by the cool features and the impressive demo, how would you even begin to assess the strength of that underlying operational scaffolding?
That's a great question. How do you look under the hood?
What practical signs or indicators, subtle or obvious, would you look for that signal reliability, transparency, and actual trustworthiness, rather than just pure technological hype and breakneck speed? What does a truly dependable AI company actually look like and feel like from your side, the customer side, particularly in those moments when the magic isn't